Welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute, but I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is currently on the air. Okay, now before I get into today's topic, I just want to have a little perfunctory first about my books that are currently out right now. I have Spinster the Goth Girl Summer, which is now available on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. This is the last of the 2025 SJS Direct books, and you can pick up your copy on Amazon.com in paperback, or you can pick up a digital version at other online booksellers. And this is a big one. Again, this is over 600 pages, but it's a great story, and it's a really fun story. So if you really want to read something fun at the beach or fun, all around and get a smile on your face, this is the book that I think you'll really enjoy. Now, I have two other books currently available as well. John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side and Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. And both of these books are also available on Amazon.com right now. And you can pick up your copies of both of these books in the John Haynes and Esteemed series at Amazon right now and at other online bookstores. This year, I wanted to do an ISIS book, but I didn't have an idea for a story. So next year, I have a new ICE book. It's just basic. It's finished. It's complete. It's ready to go, and it's one that I think you'll really enjoy. I call it Runway of Doom, and that book is one that I think you're really going to enjoy. It's about ISIS in the world of modeling, similar to what Spencer Goth Girl Summer is, and I think you're going to like that one. Now I'll give you guys another update on my health. I have started exercising these days, and I'm starting to do some walking to try to recover from the heart attack that I had and the heart failure that I'm still currently dealing with. So I'm still, in the middle of recovery, and I'm still trying to, get out here and continue to make content. And one of my viewers wanted me to make a video or a live stream discussing something that Tom Cruise was proposing. And Tom Cruise has a mission to try to revitalize the theater going experience by being an unofficial ambassador to theaters and chains of high profile movies like Sinners and F1. He wants to get more people to go to the movie theaters. He wants to try to, revitalize the business of the movie theaters, because the movie theaters are the lifeblood of the entertainment industry. I mean, this is something a lot of people really don't understand is that the theaters are how these studios really make all their money, because all the money is made on these large, especially on these larger budget films at the theaters, and people haven't been going to the theaters. And a lot of it is not just because of COVID. A lot of people think, oh, COVID was one of the reasons why people weren't going to the theaters, that and vaccine mandates that kept a lot of people away from the theaters. But what was keeping people away from the theaters primarily was the problem with Hollywood getting caught up in its obsession with box office as related to the gross of their movies, and the tunnel vision that they basically got when they wound up getting caught up in the MCU. The MCU did a lot of damage to the overall box office, because what happened with Hollywood is that Hollywood got caught up in the numbers that many of these movies were doing, and just stopped being very creative overall. I mean, I remember in the early days of the MCU, we got a lot of different movies. Like, we got movies like Bad Teacher, we got a lot of comedies, we got a lot of romances. But as the MCU went on, what happened was a lot of executives got tunnel vision, and that tunnel vision had them looking to make everything either kids movies or superhero movies. And that's what really discouraged a lot of people from going to the theater, because they were not seeing the kind of movies they wanted to see. I mean, I myself, I love comedies and I love dramas as well. And I wanted to see something different, but the studios, all they would give you is a limited selection of movies, and all of it was primarily superhero movies. And I'm a comic fan, and I was starting to get tired of all these superhero movies that they were making. And this is one of the reasons why, people stopped going to the theaters. Yeah, they might come out to see a Spider-Man, but the whole thing is that's because that movie is special. But many of these movies, it was just tunnel vision. It was just either you got Star Wars, you got this Marvel Cinematic Universe, you got a DC movie. It was where were the regular movies for regular people? And that's the critical question. I was sitting there asking myself for many years as related to Hollywood was, where are the regular movies? And that's one of the things that they had a problem with. Now, as time has gone on, you've had Tom Cruise. He wants to come out here and try to revive interest in going to the theater. But what's really keeping people from going to the theater again is that the fact that they're just not making any movies that people want to see. It's just like when I learned about screenwriting, the question that I have to answer before I even put a finger to the keyboard to even write one of these books is, why should we care? And the whole thing is, people really don't have a reason to care about movies anymore, because many of the movies just aren't special. I mean, either we're getting these superhero movies, which people basically take for granted, we're getting these kids movies that older people just can't get into, or we're getting this art house crap that basically is made to just try to be Oscar bait. But we're not getting those movies that I got in the 80s and the 90s growing up. I mean, in the 80s and the 90s, we had all sorts of, low budget action movies. We had romances, we had teen movies, we had variety, and the variety was one of the reasons why people would go to the theater, because there was something for everyone. And there's not really much at the theater, so people don't have that incentive, and they don't have that incentive to go and get up and go to the theater, because Hollywood has not given people a reason to want to go to the theater. I mean, Hollywood really has not given people that reason to want to go out. I mean, yeah, we get movies like Top Gun Maverick here and there. We get movies like F1. We get, like Tom Cruise was talking about, and movies like Sinners. But these movies, if these movies were made in the 80s, they would basically be every week. We would be getting these movies regularly, and it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, in the 80s, we were getting all kinds of movies. I mean, and it wasn't this just this. Oh, it's just a handful of movies, not just one. And the thing that's the other thing that's hurting Hollywood is, again, you're not really making much movies, and the whole thing is you're not greenlighting a lot of projects. You're saying everything is so expensive, but the problem is you don't understand that, well, maybe you need not spend so much money on a movie. I mean, I've seen people make movies back in the day, making movies for $1, $2, maybe even $5, $10 million, and that movie would go on to make $30, $40 million, because they were willing to do that. But these days, because of streaming, they don't want to put that movie in the theater, and they don't want to go out here and put that movie in the theater and take a risk on it. But the whole thing is, this is where you make most of your bread and butter. I mean, any seasoned Hollywood professional would understand this. I mean, somebody like myself, I've studied the entertainment industry for over 20 years, and the first thing that I understood was, look, most of your money is not going to be made on these blockbusters. No, your money is going to be made on those low budget and those small and those mid budget films. That's where most of your money is going to be made. Because I remember I've been studying the box office for years, and most of the money that Hollywood has made on movies like Pretty Woman, Ghost. I mean, these were the bread and butter of Hollywood. I mean, and smaller companies like New World, Hollywood Studios, and New Line Cinema. I mean, these were the guys who made most of the money in Hollywood for Hollywood. But Hollywood basically shut all of those types of production companies down over the last, I say, 30 years. I mean, a lot of this also has to tie into that Telecom Act of 1996, because the Telecom Act really did damage the core foundation of all the damage we're seeing right now as related to movie theaters is due to the Telecom Act eliminating competition. Because competition, we had competition between the studios when there was no Telecom Act. The studios basically were regulated by the federal government. We had a lot of these studios, they had to compete in order to go out here and make money. They had to go out here and they had to deal with either the big studios and the small studios, and the prodcos all had to compete. And now we don't have that competition because the studios basically bought all the small studios out, bought all the small prodcos out, and now we've got these big studios, these big four or big five, and they're basically dying because they took away the competition. And because we don't have the competition, basically what's happening now to a lot of these Hollywood movie studios is that they're producing less content, one, and two, a lot of the content they're producing basically is stuff that nobody wants because we've got a lot of complacent executives in place. And as we've gotten these complacent executives in place, they basically, again, got that tunnel vision. All they're thinking about is, hey, I just want to keep making these billions from stuff like the MCU. I want to keep making billions from movies like the Pixar movies. I want to keep making billions from those type of movies. But what has happened is what the same thing that happened in the 1960s, back when we had the star system fall completely apart. And what happened then was the studios were out here continuing to make these war movies from World War II, these epic movies about these classic pieces of literature. They were making these epic movies. And again, these movies' budgets were just huge. And as they were making these movies, it was basically choking the life out of the studios because these films cost so much money that the studios couldn't make a profit on these films. And as a result, studios wound up almost going out of business until we got people starting to bring things back by making movies in a new way, because they even changed the way they even did acting. And the whole thing is, that's how we got movies like The Godfather. That's how we got movies like Jaws. That's how we got movies like Star Wars. That's how we got movies like the many of the horror movies. I mean, we got a whole different group of movies from Hollywood taking that kind of risk, but Hollywood really can't take that type of risk right now. And they can't take that type of risk because we don't have that infrastructure in place, one, to make the type of movies that are needed. I mean, the Telecom Act of 96 basically took away the infrastructure we needed for competition. So we don't have the foundations that are needed for competition. That's one thing we don't have. Two, we don't have the executives with the vision anymore in Hollywood that can go out here and find a great story from a great writer like myself. They can't go out here and want to go look for a great writer like myself. I mean, this is a problem that a lot of the studios have. I mean, guys like me, I have stuff that, could easily be adapted. I design stuff like, Temptation of John Haynes, and stuff like All About Marilyn, and stuff like Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. I mean, this would make a fun movie and would get people in the goth scene and get a lot of casuals to come go see something. But the whole thing is the studios don't want to talk to guys like me because they have so many really bad people working for them. They have a lot of inept executives who basically are more caught up in activism social justice and identity politics than they are with having a vision for knowing what they want to do. And that's a major problem for a lot of these studios, is that they don't have that those people with that insight to be able to, again, make those type of films. Thank you, Yak Diesel, for the super chat. I really appreciate it, and thank you for recommending this topic. And Black Sand, thank you for the super chat. Really great to really appreciate. Yeah, I'm going to be bringing more comic review videos out soon. I mean, I've got a couple of comics that I picked up. I mean, I got this La Muerta She that I'll be doing a review of soon. So there will be more comic review videos. I don't know. I might try to get some HBO Max and try to do a review of Superman. But the whole thing is the studios really are not making stuff. They don't have the infrastructure to even make good movies anymore, because everybody in Hollywood got so caught up in the MCU. Everybody got so caught up in superhero movies. There's no infrastructure for making good films. So Tom Cruise, I mean, I applaud what he wants to do. I applaud what he would like to do with film. But the problem is with Hollywood, they're not ready to be able to get people to the movie theaters, because they basically destroyed their entire infrastructure as related to film. They destroyed all of their infrastructure. I mean, as they got caught up in that tunnel vision for the MCU, they basically they did not go out here and look to say, hey, let's try to cultivate new audiences. Because I remember, in the 80s and the 90s, when it came to Hollywood in the 2000s, they were like, okay, yeah, that superhero movie stuff, yeah, that's nice when the first Spider-Man came out. But they were still out here looking for that next big concept. They were still looking for that next big story. But we don't have those executives out there looking for that next big story. And again, the executives we have in charge now really don't have an understanding of how to do business. No, they don't really understand, the business of entertainment. They don't understand how things work. All they're thinking about mostly is activism, identity politics, social justice, or their agenda. And these people, again, a lot of them don't really have good experience, or a lot of them don't have any experience as related to things. And that was shown to me when Disney was going out here creating their Disney Plus platform. I mean, you're getting people who are extremely inexperienced. I mean, people who have never written screenplays, people who don't know how to do TV whatsoever, or don't know how to do movies. I mean, this is what's really killing Hollywood, is that you don't have any people who understand, how to make stuff that appeals to a large audience. They just want to go out here and participate in activism and so-called representation, but they don't even know what they're representing, because they have no passion for storytelling. They have no craft for storytelling. I mean, because writing in and of itself is a skill, but these people take it for granted. They think, oh, I can just go out here and be able to write all a story and it'll be okay. But that was shown to me with, shows like She-Hulk Attorney at Law. You've got a woman who never was a lawyer talking about she's writing a show. She doesn't know anything about the characters, but this person is the head writer of your show, and that's not good for your show. I mean, and in the MCU also, we're starting to see with Kevin Feige, he was, again, hiring people who really had no real experience. That was shown with that Eternals movie. I mean, this woman, yes, she won Best Director for art house crap, but she's not fit for action movies. You need somebody who knows science fiction. You need somebody who knows fantasy. You need somebody, who is qualified to do this. I mean, he went out here and got Chloe Zhao. She's done an art house movie, but he passes by Sally Richardson Whitfield, who has done, sci-fi and fantasy movies and would have been a better fit. But the whole thing is that a lot of this is people, again, in Hollywood, they're not really understanding, their business. And that's why, Tom Cruise can go out here and try to get people to want to go to theaters, but there's no reason to go to the theaters, because there's no content really worth watching. There's no content there that really draws you in. There's no content that really gets that word of mouth that makes you care. There's no content that really has people looking to say, hey, I want to tell people about this movie. This movie is so awesome. I mean, I remember in 2002 going to the first Spider-Man with my sister, and I was just floored at how great that movie was. I mean, Tobey Maguire, Kristen Dunst, did a fantastic job on, and then what's his name? Willem Dafoe did a fantastic job on that movie. And that movie was so good that in the first weekend, people were telling all their friends how great this movie was. And I don't feel that kind of buzz. I haven't felt that kind of buzz really since about 2008 with Iron Man. I mean, that was the last one that I really felt some buzz like that. But the problem with the entertainment industry is that, again, they don't know how to entertain people anymore. I mean, America, we really do not know how to entertain people. We don't know how to tell stories. And that's because, again, we've got these comfortable executives at the top who basically want to continue remaking and rebooting. They want to keep making the same stuff over and over and expect, Gen Z to come in and see something that was made for Generation X, my generation. And you're not going to get people to see stuff for Gen X and Gen Y, and get Gen Z to come see this because the world is different for them. I mean, again, like the 70s and the 60s with the baby boomers, I mean, people, they were not relating to those musicals. They were not relating to those epic movies when you're seeing your friends coming home from Vietnam dead and seeing people getting drafted, seeing people dealing with drug problems. I mean, seeing the suburbs not being as great as you thought they were. And he's sitting there trying to tell me everything is going good, everything is going great, because he's reminiscing about a time when things were good for him, these executives. But this is not something people were seeing in the streets or in their lives, and it wasn't being presented on screen. And again, if I'm not seeing reality presented to me, I have no reason to want to go to the theater. And that's where guys like Tom Laughlin came in with Born Losers and was able to make money with the biker movie about Billy Jack. And he was able to do that because he understood, okay, people are coming back from Vietnam. They want to see their struggles and they want to see their process as related to the world. They want to see, how rough things are. And also they wanted to see things like with Melvin Van Peebles with Sweet Sweetback. I mean, the reason why that film was a hit was because Black people were like, yeah, this is the Black America I know. This is the Black America I experienced. And the same thing back in '84 with Bill Cosby at the Cosby Show. He's talking to people. And again, films were used to talk to people because they were about people, but films stopped being about people. And that's where a lot of Hollywood's business, falls completely apart. I mean, it falls apart because they're not talking about people or people's experiences. People don't see themselves on screen. And that's why nobody wants to go to the movie theater. They just say, oh, I'll just wait for streaming. But they're waiting for streaming because there's nothing that is getting that spark. There's nothing there that gets that excitement. And even worse, we don't even have any movie stars because we haven't really developed movie stars over the last, I say, about 10, 15 years. I mean, I said years ago, especially about Black actors, I said, most of our Black actors are in their 50s and their 60s, and we haven't gone out here and developed some 20-something actors or some teen actors because we're not thinking about the future. Because again, many of these executives are just completely out of touch with reality. They're in their bubble, similar to the CEO of Sears and Kmart or one of these other companies that's basically wound up becoming obsolete because they're sitting there still thinking it's 1984 or still thinking it's 1995 or something like that, not understanding, the whole landscape has completely changed. And as the landscape of media is completely changed, we basically have a whole generation that doesn't want to go to the movie theater. And some of them basically didn't even grow up with the movie theater thanks to the COVID lockdowns. Many people don't even think about it. They just say, oh, well, I'll just wait for streaming. And again, that's Hollywood's own fault. And it's their own fault because they were so greedy. They were so greedy to just try to get some money out of everybody with the streaming. They thought they were going to be able to control audiences. They thought they were going to be able to control the media and control the narrative. But then everything just backfired because what happened was people were not really watching many of these streaming services. They were watching YouTube. They were watching guys like me. They were watching many other guys like me talk about different topics, talk about different subjects, and they were looking to connect with real people. They were looking to have relationships with real people. They were looking to, connect with real people. And that's something they're not getting or feel like they're getting from the theater experience and the movies that are being produced, because the movies that are being made, there's not really, and even some of the TV shows, really are not really resonating with that audience, not really connecting with that audience. And you can't tell these executives this because they're so caught up in their messages that they want to tell you. They're not really understanding that, this is a two-way street. Yeah, you may have a message, but people really want to hear somebody talk about their experiences and their lives, not sit here and listen to you tell me how to live. I mean, yeah, I know media is programming, but this stuff was so preachy. It really reminded me of many of the very special episodes of stuff like Different Strokes and stuff that just doesn't feel genuine. It feels fake. It feels forced. And again, you want me to go to the movie theater, but there's nothing there for the customer. I mean, one of the things I find that the Hollywood has as a problem is that they don't really think about the customer. And that was shown, Bo DeMayo basically showed this with Kevin Feige as the MCU went into decline, was that he stopped thinking about the customer and what the customer would want. And all he thought about was what he wanted, and basically took us on the road back to making the same mistakes that they made in 2004 with Halle Berry's Catwoman as related to the MCU. He made the same mistakes thinking that his vision was better than the comics when Marvel Studios was originally created to make sure that things would be authentic to the comics. And I started to see that with Spider-Man Homecoming. I mean, I was disgusted. A lot of people like Spider-Man Homecoming, but I was disgusted with Spider-Man Homecoming because Spider-Man Homecoming, basically, it deviated so far from the source material that it really didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. I mean, Raimi's Spider-Man felt like a Spider-Man movie, but this one it felt like he was just putting his own things in, trying to make Peter Parker into Tony Stark's Robin, and it just turned me off, and I was just deeply disgusted by that movie. And again, when it comes down to Hollywood, I mean, this is what they do. They make things to their liking, and the audience, they're not thinking or considering the audience. They're not considering the struggles of the audience or what the audience is dealing with. And this is why their films are not hitting, and this is why their audience, that's why they're losing viewers for things like the Oscars, because you don't make films about people anymore. You're so far away from regular people. I mean, I think about classic movies like Rocky and Marty. I mean, those were regular guys who any guy could say, that's me. That's my experience. I know what it wants to, when you have a dream and you want to get it, or I know what it is to be the guy who wants to get the girl. I mean, you're not making the kind of stuff that talks to people. I mean, this is something I try to be very careful about when I'm writing stories. Like when I was doing stories like John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side, when I did this story, I was trying to make a commentary, about a black man as an executive and the threats he has to deal with as related to things like people from the Black Boule and the CIA and all that stuff, and just putting it all together to make something interesting. Or I do something like Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl, where I talk about witchcraft, and I also try to pay some homage to comic artists like John Romita Sr. And really, I wanted to, again, just follow up on things, but I want to make stories, and like Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, where again, I want to make stories that basically people can say, hey, that's me, or that's my experience. I can say, I know somebody like that, or I am like that, or I'm trying to work on something in my life like that. Because again, people go to the movies to go and not only, be entertained, but to see solutions sometimes as related to life. They want to see something that says to me, I got this problem. Oh, I saw a solution in this movie. I mean, this is something that's missing from movies. And again, if you want people to go to the theater, you've got to give them a reason. This is something that I do all the time here, or when I'm writing at SJS Direct, I always say to myself, what am I going to give the customer? What am I going to give you that will get you after you read this story? What am I going to give you? And the studios aren't thinking about that. All they're thinking about is what we're going to get, how much box office are we going to make? But the way you make box office is you have to give people something. I mean, you have to give them a joke. You have to give them a laugh. You have to give them something that makes them smile. You have to give me something as related to things, or you have to either give me a solution to a problem, and you have to give the customer something But a lot of the studios, it's not about what they can give you, it's about how much money they want to take. And that's why their business is suffering, because it's not about giving the customer a great story, or a great story of triumph, or a great story. And I mean, I look at that, and that's a major thing that's really hurting the movie business, and even the TV business. I mean, you want to get people back to the movie theaters, you've got to give them a reason to go to the theater. You've got to give me a reason outside of, oh, it's a Spider-Man movie. No, I need you to give me a story that talks to me, and really speaks to me, like a Saturday Night Fever. I mean, yeah, Tony Manero was a complete jerk, but he was living the struggles of the average brother or the average man in the 1970s, where you're just trying to stay alive, you're just trying to work with what you got. And this place like this dance, and this is the only thing he got as an outlet that makes him feel like something. You got to give me something. That's what a lot of those guys in the 70s were doing. They was giving people some reason to go out, because even in that economic turmoil, you could go and escape to the theater and see a guy like Tony Manero, go out here and achieve. You could go out here and see a movie, like The Godfather. You could go out here and see, movies like Carrie. You could go out here and see people like you. And that's the problem that really the MCU, I believe, caused with movies, is that, yeah, we see these larger than life heroes, but they stop being people. I mean, when I look at the first Iron Man, Tony Stark was a person who was disconnected and really didn't have a connection to people. And the Iron Man armor connected him to people and allowed him to see a larger world of people that he had to care for. And we lost that as we got to Avengers Endgame, where it became more about special effects. It became more about these Infinity Stones, and it stopped being about people. It stopped being about people, caring about each other. And that's why the MCU, again, I say, was the worst thing that ever happened in cinema, because when I look at other filmmakers who made the same observation, we lost the ability to tell stories about people. And you want people to go to the movie theaters, but people don't want to go to the movie theaters because you're not giving me stories about people. You're not giving me stories about human beings, in the human condition. You're not giving me stories about life that I can relate to. I mean, you're either giving me these superhero movies, you're either giving me art house crap, or you're giving me, Oscar bait that's just made for people's egos. You're not like Gabriel. I mean, I started at 9:30 because, I'm dealing with these heart issues, so I'm trying to just do something. And my viewers, he asked me to do the show, so I decided to do a show. And I'm really enthusiastic about this topic because it really means something to me. I mean, when I think about getting people to the theaters, you've got to have something. You've got to give me something. I mean, you've got Disney sitting up there talking about, oh, we're trying to get those Gen Z men. No, you should be talking about, I need stories about men who and how they're going to overcome. I need stories about masculinity. I need something that's going to get people, actively interested in stories and interested in life. I mean, guys want to go out here when they go see a movie. They want to see something like Wedding Crashers, where they can go and say, "Hey, that guy's going out here. He's going out here getting chicks. I want to go out here and get chicks. So I'm going to go check this movie out and see what type of techniques he's using." That's what made Wedding Crashers a huge hit, was that guys are out here. They're like, yeah, I want to see how these guys are going to go out here and get these chicks. I mean, you have to give, again, I'll repeat it once more. You have to give people something if you want to get money. You've got to give them a reason to come to the theater. And that's where guys like Tom Cruise really have to start thinking it's more than, buying popcorn for the people who come to the theater. You have to give them a movie that is worth seeing. You have to give me a story that I can say, oh, this guy reminds me of me, or this guy reminds me of who I want to be, or this guy is got traits that I would aspire to be like. And that's another problem I have with a lot of Hollywood movies, is that we've got guys who don't know how to be heroes. I mean, the hero of the movie is not really someone that's likable, not someone that's relatable, not somebody that people can form a connection with. That's a major problem. I mean, when I was seeing movies in the 80s, I mean, you had guys who were, again, like Tony Manero. He was a complete jerk, but he was relatable. He was likable. Yes, he was a heel, but he was a guy who had this machismo. He had this masculine presence. I mean, John Travolta really played this Tony Manero guy where you wanted to be like this guy and you wanted to have that white suit on and you wanted to be like him on the disco dance floor. I mean, that's what he was to people, because when they saw Tony Manero, they saw a cool guy. When they saw Rocky Balboa, they saw a cool guy. When they saw, guys in the 70s and the 80s, they saw guys who were like, yeah, I want to be like that guy. I mean, even with movies like Commando with John Matrix, as campy as that movie was, you wanted to be like Matrix. You wanted to be cool like these guys. But what we're getting these days with movies today is these beta males, and these beta males are not relatable. I mean, people look at this guy and they go, I don't want to be like this guy. This guy's corny. I mean, this guy's boring. Like with Pedro Pascal, he's just so beta. Nobody wants to be Pedro Pascal. No, George Clooney should have been cast as Mr. Fantastic, because George Clooney is a guy people want to be like. I mean, nobody wanted to be like Pedro Pascal, and that's where Fantastic Four bombed, because it's a guy nobody wants to be like. I mean, Reed is supposed to be, confident, charismatic. He's supposed to be a guy who has strong presence, because he's got to lead this team into, going into space to become, and that's how they become the Fantastic Four. Again, studios just don't know what they're doing, because we got, again, a lot of complacent executives. We got a lot of inexperienced people. Because I don't use the term woke, because the term is not woke. The term is inexperienced, and that was shown to me with She-Hulk, attorney at law. And again, inexperienced people, really, they don't understand, how things work or how to make things work. That's a major problem in Hollywood. They hired a whole lot of these so-called activists, or even just inexperienced people altogether. They tried to get rid of them with the Writers Guild and SAG strikes, but the problem is that you don't have guys like me who understand the business in the business anymore, and you have got people who don't know how to, again, make those type of mid-tier films that basically were the bread and butter for the studios. I mean, the studios, as I see it, need to just go and say, look, we may make one superhero movie every 2-3 years, but our primary focus is going to be, getting those romances out there, getting those dramas out there, getting those comedies out there, and even those horror movies out there, because this is going to be our bread and butter. This is going to be how we make our money, because this is always how the studios have made their money. It's always been made on the smaller budget films, and any seasoned studio executive will tell you, look, most of our money is made on small budget films. I mean, stuff like The Hangover and all these other, all those movies had small budgets, and this is how they made most of their bread in the 80s. This is how they make most of their bread in the 90s and the 2000s. They knew, okay, we make our money on these small budget films, and Hollywood's problem is they want to keep making these $600, $700, $800 million movies, but there's no return on that as related to getting 3 times the budget that you're not. And that was shown to us with Superman. I mean, Superman isn't even going to break even because the film costs too much, just like Little Swirl made, just like many of the other films that they've made. I mean, I would have been out here greenlighting whatever small concepts that were out here. I mean, and looking at guys, like myself, because when I designed stuff like The Temptation of John Haynes, I designed stuff like that to be made for under $50 million. I mean, I designed that whole story where everything in The Temptation of John Haynes could be made for under $50 million, even under $30 million. I designed the whole film, if I were to have made it, to be made cheap, to be made with, B and C list actors, and to be basically something that, again, would use practical effects. I designed stuff to be really, really made like super cheap. Same thing I would do like with the ISIS. It would be made, on a smaller budget so that you could go out here and be able to pull a profit on it. And that's designed into the structure of the story. I mean, when that's one of the things that a lot of executives aren't doing, because they don't understand, green screens and all that stuff is nice, but the whole thing is you need to keep this under a certain budget so that you can go out here and pull a profit at the end of the day. And a lot of the studios, again, not understanding, the rudimentary things as related to the business, but I understood, this whole situation as related to the business. Now, the other thing that they have a problem with, again, is actors. And Tom Cruise came from an era where we had movie stars. I mean, Tom Cruise was a bona fide certified movie star, and as a bona fide certified movie star, he basically was a draw to these theaters. But Hollywood hasn't really done a good job of going out here and developing movie stars. Excuse me for a minute. I'm gonna. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I am so sorry. Okay, that was my pharmacy calling me. They have some medicine for me to pick up, so I love this topic. I mean, I really enjoy this topic, but like I was saying before, Tom Cruise came from an era of movie stars, and we really have not developed the next generation of stars. I mean, we're not really developing that next generation of actors that go out here and again be those performers who will be stars. I mean, just like with comics, we don't like I was talking to Kevin Grieve, who remember he said that there was no rock star artists and they weren't developing rock star artists. The studios have been really cheap. They don't want to go out here and develop movie stars because they don't want to pay movie stars. And that's another problem that they're having is that they don't want to pay, top talent to be top talent. And you have to go out here and develop this talent in order to go out here and do business. And the problem is that most like Gabriel is saying, they're promoting these super old baby boomers and they don't understand. Tom Cruise is 62 years old. He's an old man. I mean, you're not going out here, and again, he's from the baby boomers or the Gen X. Again, that was a different era. I mean, when I had one of my viewers, when I was doing Spinsterella, they were telling me, about this young lady named Kiana Matiera. Now, and he told me, get her for Spellbound. And she's a talented actress. She's done some good work. And again, I'm looking at younger people, and Hollywood is not looking at younger people. And that's really scary because, again, originally Hollywood was a youth-based business, and most of the films these days have people who are 40, 50, 60 years old, and that's really bad. I mean, when you have a 62-year-old man telling you that he's trying to get people to the theater, that's not a good thing optically. Now, me going out here and getting like a 27, 28-year-old kid like Kiana Mia and saying, hey, I'll put you in a Spinsterella movie about a black goth, that's going to get people excited. That's going to get this like, okay, we got a young person. We got a topic about the goth subculture. We got a black woman who's in. This is something that can get people interested. And this is how you get people to the theater. Because again, Hollywood is youth-based and the kids are not seeing themselves. They're not seeing their experience. They're not seeing their stories, and that's why you're not making money, because you want to get me to the theater, you got to give me something. Again, I keep repeating that because that's what business is all about. Giving people something, fun, giving people something exciting, giving people solutions, giving people life, and giving people, great stories. That's what things are all about. And you have to go out here and give people something as related to life and give people, something special that means something to them. Because I remember, with movies used to be something special. I mean, movies like I remember like Last American Virgin. I mean, I remember watching that on Channel 11 and it resonated with me to this day. And I got a chance to watch it again when I got the DVD. And it's still one of my favorite movies because it was telling the truth about nice guys. It was telling the truth about people. And again, these were young actors. These were young rookies. And those movies stay with people so long that, you got actress Diane Franklin, who is still, people still talk about her performance in that movie to this day. and she's on IG, and people still talk to her about that performance because it so resonates with people. And again, if you want those people to come back to the theaters, you want people to come back. You got to give them great movies. You got to give them great stories, and you also have to create the infrastructure for this. But the government doesn't want to repeal the Telecom Act of '96. The corporations don't want to understand that you've killed competition, and when you killed competition, you killed creativity, you killed imagination, you killed the blood of what movies are, and because movies are about people. And again, you have to get rid of that Telecom Act and allow competition to grow once again. You have to go out here and start looking to new talent with stories. You have to go out here and stop thinking about the past and focus on the future. Because again, Hollywood is a youth-based business, and people in Hollywood, you really have they've got to start reconnecting with people and creating stories about people. This is what has to be done if you want to get people to theaters. Because yeah, movies like F1, they're nice. Movies like Sinners, they're okay. Yeah, they get people in the door for the blockbusters, but the money is not made on the blockbuster. The money is made on the mid-budget movies. This is always where the money has been made. I mean, the Pretty Womans, the Ghosts, the Runaway Brides, these and movies like American Pie. These are the lifeblood of Hollywood, and they're not making the American Pies. They're not making The Hangover. They're not making Saturday Night Fever. They're not making those stories about people that resonate with people and connect with people, like Last American Virgin, like Gabriel was talking about. I mean, it's these are movies that stay with people. I mean, Last American Virgin came out in 1982 when my brother graduated high school, and almost 40 years later, guys are still connected to that movie, and even guys from new generations are saying, "Yeah, this movie told the truth. This is raw. This was real." And I remember back in the day, people criticized, said that movie was a bad movie. But 30, 40 years later, people are looking at Last American Virgin, and they look at it and say, "Hey, you told the truth." And I haven't watched Sinners yet, D Wood. I mean, I have been laid up with this heart, and so I haven't been able to go anywhere for a while. I mean, the Berlinta and the other medicines basically had me so dizzy I could not even move for about a good 2-3 weeks, and now I have gotten a little bit better. So I'm like out here. I'm still trying to recover. I had watched the Gordon Ramsay show, and he said one guy had a quadruple bypass. He said it took him a year and a half to recover, but I'm still trying to recover, and I'm still trying to get out here. But one of my viewers wanted me to talk about this. But I understand what has to be done again to get theaters their business back. And again, they're going to have to be sacrifices made. I mean, you may have to sacrifice streaming, and you may have to sacrifice it because if you want to get the box office and give people a motivation to go to the box office, you may have to kill the streaming, because the streaming basically is taking money out of your hands, because people will sit there and say, well, why should I pay $15 a ticket to go to see a movie when I can go out here, pay for 1 month of HBO Max, watch what I want, or 1 month of Disney Plus, watch what I want, and then go back to business as usual. And the whole family can watch it. So I look at that also as part of the business. And again, if you want to do things with things, if you want to get that box office back, you're going to have to maybe sacrifice streaming and let streaming be like syndication, like Tubi, where you're just running stuff a year or 2 years after it comes off basic cable. After you finish all those runs, then you put it on streaming. That's how you can make money off of streaming, because then you have it coming on as a final platform. But the whole thing is that streaming is choking the life out of the box office as well. And that's another thing that's been going on, is that streaming is choking the life out of the box office, and they're not able to make money because people sitting up there waiting for the thing to come to streaming, or you're putting stuff on streaming that basically could have made you money. Like a lot of the comedies, a lot of the romances, you could have put that on regular platforms of theaters, and the theaters could have made money off that. But streaming basically it just takes so much money away. And that's why more people are buying DVDs, because they realize streaming ain't that great. In Hollywood, really, they may have to sacrifice streaming in order to save their box office. That's something I would have been doing as an executive. I would have said, look, we're gonna put the streaming on for a little while, but then the streaming is gonna get turned into syndication, and we're gonna go out here and put syndicated content on there, like the Hercules and the Xena and the little low budget stuff, and have that be the draw. And then take the theatrical stuff. We're gonna run it through the cable. We're gonna run it through the home video and get the money from there, and then we'll go to streaming. Maybe 3-4 years later, we'll go to streaming, and then people will get their physical media. So a lot of people want their DVDs. A lot of people want Blu-rays. People want to be able to again watch these movies. I mean, I really love having DVDs. They're great to have. And if I want to watch something, like I love like Batman Beyond, I used to love that show, and I would watch it frequently because it was just a fun show. But the whole thing is that, people want their physical media. They want, again, stuff. And again, Hollywood may have to sacrifice streaming, and I believe they should sacrifice streaming, because you want people to go to the theater? Give me a reason to go to the theater. If you've got this streaming, I don't have a reason to go to the theater. I need a reason to go to the theater, and you need to give me that reason to go to the theater. And again, this goes beyond Tom Cruise. I mean, this is about Hollywood not understanding its own business, and even the actors themselves not understanding their own business, because we've got a lot of actors, again, we've got old actors, they're alienating people, they get on Twitter, they start running their mouths because they don't understand that they're a business, they don't understand that you're in business for yourself, they don't understand, you need to be out here selling your movie. I mean, Tom Cruise understands this. He understands, look, when it comes down to Mission Impossible, I need to sell Mission Impossible. When it comes down to the movies that he's doing, he's got to sell the movie, because that's how he's going to make his money. That's how he's going to get his next job. I mean, he understands that, but a lot of today's actors, they want to be activists. They want to talk about politics. They want to use their platforms to push agendas, but that's not what your job is. Your job is to get your next job. I mean, that's what I learned about the entertainment business is your job is to get your next job. Your job is to go out here and be able to go out here and be able to get that next acting gig that will keep you in the front of everything as related to media. That is your job as a performer. And a lot of people don't understand that. And again, Tom Cruise does understand it because he came from the era of movie stars. But Hollywood is not about manufacturing movie stars, just like the comic book industry isn't about manufacturing rock stars as related to artists and writers. And that's why they're having a hard time drawing, because nobody wants to see a no-name movie. They want to see a star who's going to draw you to them so that you can see somebody you like in a role, and that's what draws the money, and that's what brings the money in. But nobody wants to pay stars. No, they want to go out here and put all the money into special effects, not understanding if you do this right, if you have the right star, they can draw and they can sell the movie and sell the movie to the audience. So a lot of these people really don't understand the business of movies. They don't understand, the business of getting people to the theaters. They don't understand the business of entertainment, and it's hurting the entertainment business because people don't understand the business. They don't know how to get people to the movie theaters. And that's why I have to say Tom Cruise's whole plan will fail, because Hollywood is just not in that competitive space anymore. I keep repeating that, but you're not in that space where you understand your business, you understand how you have to compete. You have to understand, people want a reason to go out. You have to give people a reason to go out. You have to give people a reason to go get dressed. You have to give people a reason to want to spend money. And you have to make it affordable, because, again, movie tickets are $20, $25 in some places. And movies should be no more than, I say, about $15 at best. And should be no more than that, per person. And you still will make money. But the whole thing is, you've got to get people a reason. You've got to give people a reason to go out. And this is where Hollywood has failed, because Hollywood basically, we don't have those type of executives with that vision. We don't have those executives with that type of personality or that presence. We don't have that anymore. And we really do need that in order to make the business strong. And that's what we really need. And sadly, we don't have it anymore. But the sad part is that, you got guys like Tom Cruise who want to get people back, but the whole thing is the Hollywood infrastructure isn't ready to get people to that place. You have people still trying to push these social justice. You still have these activists out here, and they're all killing the business with their dysfunction. And you have these, like when they try to do all these girl bosses. I mean, nobody wants to see that. People want to see hot, sexy women, in stories, but they want some substance to them. They don't want some Mary Sue who can beat everybody. They want to see a woman who can go out here and again is dealing with stuff that they deal with and is doing things that they like, and that's what people want to see. But you have an entire country that's basically from the top down has a lot of old, out of touch people at the top. They are living in a different world than the rest of us, and that's one of the reasons why people aren't going to the movie theaters, because they don't have a reason to go to the movie theaters. They don't have a reason to care. They don't. And again, like I said before, the question you have to answer before you even put a finger to the keyboard to write a story is, why should we care? But the sad part is American companies give you no reason to care. They give you no reason to care about anything, and they just want to make it for them, but they don't think about you. And that's why many audiences are staying home, and that's why many audiences, are not going out to the movie theaters and have no real incentive to go out here and be able to go out here and see things. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up this morning's stream. The next comic review video for the viewers who do like them is going to be She La Muerta Nemesis. I just got this from Coffin Comics, and I can't wait to share this comic with you. So we'll be reviewing this book next week, and I hope you guys will be there for that review. And before you guys go, I want you guys to go and please pick up, the SJS 2025 books. John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side, Esteem, Season of the Witch Girl, with Esteem getting the Green Goblin treatment, and Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, a fun little story about a black goth going to Los Angeles and enjoying and being a part of the world of goth modeling and all the drama that goes on around it. Again, I like to make fun books that feature people that are just like you and me, and regular stories about regular life. And I can't wait to again get you guys to. I have 2 of the 2026 books written. I have the John Haynes book written. I have the ISIS book written. I'm hoping to get maybe an Esteem book written, but I've got stuff in progress. Even though as I'm dealing with this heart issue that's related to heart failure, I'm still out here pushing and trying to persevere. And I was really glad to be able to do this show for you guys and really show you my knowledge of the entertainment industry and show you why we're having these problems with the movie theaters, why we're having things. Because I see a lot of comics YouTubers, they talk about woke and all this stuff. But as someone who has been studying this business, I can give you, again, a more objective perspective. Things aren't just woke. It's about the inexperienced people. It's about the disconnected executives. It's about, them not really knowing how to tap the pulse of their customers and really connect with their customers and, really talk to their customers and really, that's a problem. And that's one of the things I try to do is talk to the customer, let them know, I'm where you are. I'm struggling like you are. I try to write stories about experiences of people like you and me. And that's what I want to share with people with the SJS Direct Imprint. And that's what I want to do. And it's not like comics YouTube where they're just sitting there complaining all day. No, I really am about solutions. And I really want to make, give people that understanding of why people don't want to go to movies. People love movies. People love film. And you got to, again, I'll say it, I'll repeat it again for the umpteenth time. You got to give me a reason to want to go to the movies. You got to give me a story that I care about. You got to give me people that I can connect with. You got to give me something. And that's something that studios don't want to do. They want to get the money, but they don't want to give you anything. So I'm going to wrap up things because I had to go to the pharmacy and pick up my medicine. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, not today's stream, but today's stream. And I hope you'll be there for next week's. Well, whenever I do another stream.